Do you think that's terrorism if a woman's raped? Do you, Mr. Burson?
Do I think that that is terrorism?
Yeah.
No, but it's an egregious, horrible crime, which is the father of
I
three
tell you what,
daughters, I think is a horrible crime.
It is for that woman. It is for that family. And you don't deport them. How do you do that? You give them an excuse to make a decision, put some poor officer there to say, you know, maybe they should go ahead and stay here in this country. We had more than 66,000 criminal aliens in your control, and you let them go. You didn't deport them. You let them go. Why do you do that?
Mr. Chairman, the policy provides that if they are a threat to national security or border security or public safety, that they are eligible.
Give me a scenario when a woman gets raped and the person's here illegally, that they're not a threat to public safety. Explain to me that scenario.
I didn't say that. I said that they would be subject.
That's what the memo says.
They would be subject, I believe the memo says, unless they are a threat to border security, unless they are not a threat to border security, national security.
How are they not a threat? How are they not a threat to public?
If a woman is raped and the perpetrator is convicted of rape, that is a felony. That is a serious crime. That is a top priority for removal. So
no, it's not. It is not the top priority.
I'm not sure
it's
where.
Priority number 2 for the Department of Homeland Security. So says the memo.
That person would be removed.
It doesn't say that. It says unless there are factors indicating the alien is not a threat or should not therefore be an enforcement priority. Jay Johnson went out of his way to tell people if you commit rape, if you're in a DUI situation, if you commit burglary, don't necessarily deport these people.
Respectfully, Congressman, I don't think you are reading that policy correctly. Rape is a serious crime that is a removable offense.
It is a removable offense unless, and it's priority number 2 for the Department of Homeland Security. I want some answers about that. I'm going to give you a copy to read. You're going to have a half hour to go through it, and I want to understand why you let 66,000 criminal aliens remain in the United States of America. That's a threat to the homeland. That's a threat of terrorism. That's a threat to every American. Those people should be priorities for removal, and you had them in your possession, and you let them go. You did not deport them. These are people that State Department, who gave a visa, thought about it, got more information, and decided, we better revoke that. 9,500 were tied to terrorists. And you don't have a clue who they are, do you?
No, Mr. Chairman, please understand that I head up the Office of Policy. The operational components that would have that information are
when will I get
here,
that? When will I get that
recess,
information?
see if we can find that.
When will I get that information?
If the operational representatives have that information, we'll provide it to you when the hearing starts up again.
You don't have a clue, do you? I'd like to yield time to Congressman Gowdy of South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it pronounced Shkreli?
Yes, sir.
See, there you can answer some questions. That one didn't incriminate you. I just want to make sure you understand you are welcome to answer questions, and not all of your answers are going to subject you to incrimination. Do you understand that, don't you?
I intend to follow the advice of my counsel, not yours.
I just want to make sure you're getting the right advice. You do know that not every disclosure can be subject to the Fifth Amendment assertion. Only those that are that you reasonably believe could be used in a criminal prosecution or could lead to other evidence.
I intend to use the advice of my counsel, not yours.
Do you also understand that you can waive your Fifth Amendment right? You gave an interview to a television station in New York where, if I understood you correctly, you couldn't wait to come educate the members of Congress on drug pricing, and this would be a great opportunity to do it. So do you understand you can waive your Fifth Amendment right?
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm vexed. He's been willing to answer at least one question this morning. That one didn't subject him to incrimination. I don't think he's under indictment for the subject matter of this hearing. So the Fifth Amendment actually doesn't apply to answers that are not reasonably calculated to expose you to incrimination. And even if it did apply, he's welcome to waive it. And I listened to his interview, and he didn't have to be prodded to talk during that interview. He doesn't have to be prodded to tweet a whole lot or to show us his life on that little webcam he's got. So this is a great opportunity if you want to educate the members of Congress about drug pricing or what you called the fictitious case against you, or we can even talk about the purchase of is it Wu-Tang Clan? Is that the name of the album? Name of the group?
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
Mr. Chairman, I am stunned that a conversation about an album he purchased could possibly subject him to incrimination. But if
Well, the gentleman is correct. I understand that Mr. Scarelli is under indictment, but it is not the intention to ask him questions about that topic.
so, if I understand it correctly, we're not going to ask him questions that are going to be in the subject matter of his current pending criminal charges. And if we were to get close to one or in the gray area, he's welcome to assert his Fifth Amendment privilege there. And if we stay away from the subject matter of his indictment, he is, some could argue, has a legal obligation to answer under Casgar versus United States, but certainly has the right to do so, as he did in the television interview and as he does quite frequently on social media.
Correct. We're trying to.
Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized for a moment?
No, you will not. No, you're not allowed to. Under the House rules, you have not been sworn in.
I understand, but he's making
No,
legal arguments.
you
about
are not
I'm a
recognized.
lawyer.
You are not recognized, and you will be seated. Yeah, you know what?
did
And it
a lot of-
failed. You failed. You said, quote, if there is anything I could do, if there was any switch I could pull,
Yeah.
you had that under the law, and you didn't do it.
No, sir, I did not have that under the law.
Yes, you did. If
I
there
had
is an
enforcement
imminent threat,
authority.
if there is an imminent threat, you can pull that switch. And
Only
you
if
finally
we
did in
also-
January.
only if we-
Administrator, you are wrong.
There's two parts to that, sir. You skipped the second.
What's the second part?
You need to have the information to determine an imminent
And
substantial
so
threat.
why do we
which
even need an
we
EPA?
did-
If
what-
you can't do
I'm
that,
sorry.
you were in those homes.
Let
No,
me take
I
you
am
through
asking
that.
the questions.
Okay.
Yes, okay. In February is when you first arrived on the scene, and it wasn't until January of the next year that you actually did something. That's the fundamental problem. Don't look around like you're mystified. That's what happened. Miguel Del Toro showed up in February. You didn't take action. You didn't. And you could have pulled that
We
switch.
consistently took action from that point forward.
There are a lot of people in this audience from Flint.
Sir.
Nobody believes that you took action. You had those levers there. Mark Edwards from
Sir,
Virginia Tech, bless his
we-
heart. No, just listen for a second.
Okay.
Had the opportunity. They have said things like, we failed to get EPA to take lead and water risks seriously. It's possible, another quote of his, and this is possible because the EPA has effectively condoned cheating on the lead and copper rule monitoring since 2006. He read your op-ed that you put out that was one of the most offensive things I could possibly imagine. And he says about you, EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy, that effectively absolved EPA of any wrongdoing or any role in creating the Flint disaster. If you want to do the courageous thing, like you said Susan Hedman did, then you too should resign.
Do this, Mr. Hicks. I'm going to dust off something called the best evidence rule. The best evidence of what you said when you were asked about Mr. Chaffetz's visit is actually what you said. So here it is. Those instructions were to arrange the visit in such a way that Representative Chaffetz and his staff would not have the opportunity to interview myself, John Martinick, and David McFarland alone. That's what you said in a deposition. So there shouldn't be any ambiguity about who said what when. That's your testimony. Now, I'd like to try to weave this tapestry together because this will be the last opportunity I have certainly today to talk to you. If I understand your testimony correctly, Mr. Hicks, and I want to be fair about it, so if I mischaracterize anything, you need to correct me. If I understand your testimony in part the ambassador was interested in going to Benghazi because of interest that Secretary Clinton had in Benghazi. Is that fair?
That's fair.
All right. Now, Mr. Nordstrom, same thing to you. And if I'm unfair in my characterization, you need to correct me. I thought I understood your testimony to be that Secretary Clinton alone was able to approve facilities that were below specs.
That's correct. Part of the specs. There's two categories, SECA and OSPB. She is the only one that can authorize waivers for SECA. In this case, both apply because we didn't meet either.
So we are able to show that in part he went to Benghazi because of Secretary Clinton, in part Benghazi was still open despite the fact it was below specs because of Secretary Clinton. And now to my third point, to complete the circle, who is Cheryl Mills?
Counselor and Chief of Staff to the Secretary.
And she was copied on that email that I know my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are going to have a press conference on as soon as we get out of here, calling on the State Department to release this email. I know it, because I have heard all afternoon about denying access to documents, and they do not want to deny the public or the media access to this document. So I know they're going to call on the State Department to release this non-classified email, which Cheryl Mills was copied on, which demonstrably undercuts Susan Rice's talking points. And Cheryl Mills was copied on that email.
Mr. Gowdy, if I could add, Cheryl Mills was also the person that led our preparation for our October testimony. I'd never met her before, but that was explained to me who she was afterwards.
And apparently, she was also less than pleased with Mr. Chaffetz's visit to Libya, if I understood that testimony correctly, which I find stunning. He's a subcommittee chairman on oversight, one of the more decent human beings I've ever met. I've never known him to inspire that strong of emotion in anyone other than Ms. Mills. Let me say this to you, Ambassador, in conclusion. You have made a compelling case today for why it is important to tell other countries the truth. You made a compelling case that the decision not to tell the truth on Sunday morning talk shows adversely impacted our ability to get to Benghazi. You made a compelling case. All three of you have made a compelling case today on why it is important for government to tell the truth to its own citizens. So you made the case why we have to tell the truth to other countries, and you made the case on why you have to tell the truth to your own citizens. So if anyone wants to know what difference does it make, if anyone wants to ask what difference does it make, it always matters whether or not you can trust your government. And to the families, we're going to find out what happened in Benghazi, and I don't give a damn whose career is impacted. We're going to find out what happened.
All right, somebody here on this panel better sponsor a bill to get rid of perverts interacting with the public, because this is not acceptable. I can't imagine somebody comes with the authority of the EPA badge, and then they've got sirens or lights on their car, and they're a registered sex offender. I mean, can you see the disconnect? Why people would be outraged if they showed up at your place of business or work, or some mom with their young child, and suddenly you encounter this person? I mean, it's just pretty stunning. And I mean, what needs to change? You both are close to this situation. What needs to change? How do we need to change the Merit Systems Protection Board? Because what's not happening is we're not protecting the American people and the taxpayers, and we're not protecting the employees that have to sit by this freak of a pervert. We're not protecting them. So how do we protect the employees of the EPA and the American taxpayers? What do we need to do with the Merit Systems Protection Board to get them to make the changes?
Would you find that to be important, whether or not we really had to go October the 1st, given the fact that we weren't ready to go on October the 1st? Would you find that relevant, whether or not we actually had to launch a substandard product?
Sir, respectfully, I'm just a technology guy trying to...
Don't short yourself. You're the smartest one in the room.
Well, that's not true, sir.
Trust me, I've been in this room for a while. It is true. There is no law that requires that. So what Secretary Sebelius said was patently false. There is no law that required a go time on October the 1st, but I want to move to another component of her quote. Some of us don't consider testing to be a luxury, but let's assume arguendo that she's right, that additional testing would have been a luxury that would have been nice to have. How much more testing would you have done prior to launching?
So I'm not deeply familiar with the development testing regimen that happened prior to October 1, so I can't really opine about that.
Well, let me ask you this. Because you are the smartest one in the room.
I'm not, sir.
And very good at what you do, where in the heck were you for the first 184 weeks? If you're being asked to fix this after October the 1st, in a couple of weeks, where were you for the first 184 after the so-called Affordable Care Act passed? Where did they have you hidden?
So, sir, in my role at the White House as U.S. CTO in the Office of Science and Technology Policy, I'm a technology and innovation policy advisor, so I have a broad portfolio of responsibilities.
But you're obviously good enough that they brought you in to fix what was broken. It's been called a train wreck. That's not fair to train wrecks. It's been called other things. They brought you in to fix it. Why didn't they bring you in to start it? Why didn't they bring you in to build it? Why are you doing a reclamation project? Why didn't you build it?
I'm part of an all-hands-on-deck effort that's been mobilized across the administration to actually help under Jeff Zients' leadership. In the lead-up to October 1, that wasn't part of my role.
When will it be operational to your satisfaction?
Well, we have a goal that the team is pursuing with tremendous intensity.
How many more weeks? Because I'm going to get asked when I go home. I know you can appreciate that. I'm going to get asked, when will it be operational? When will it be as good as it can get? Because you'll concede the first 184 weeks did not go swimmingly. Is it going to be another 184 weeks?
So, sir, I think the honest answer is that there's a team of incredibly dedicated public servants.
I get all that. I'm looking for a number. I'm looking for a number. We can interpret the poem later. I'm looking for a number.
That's working hard to have the site functioning by the end of this month smoothly for the vast majority of Americans. That's the goal.
The gentleman's time is expired. I might stipulate for the record that Mr. Park was at HHS at the time of passage and for that roughly first 2 years. So his expertise does come out of the origins of Obamacare.
Well, my question, Mr. Chairman, was simply if he's good enough to be brought in to fix it after the locomotive has crashed off the mountainside, where in the hell was he for the first 184 weeks when it was being broken? Well, why wait until it's crashed? If he's a savant, and I'm convinced he is, where's he been? I know the Obama girl is missing, but he wasn't. I think they found her, actually, the lady from the website. I think they found her. But where's he been?